In today's world, relationships often feel like a game of chess. Silent, calculated, and full of unspoken moves. People hesitate to express their true feelings, fearing rejection or judgment. Instead, they choose to measure every word, every gesture, as if walking on a tightrope. Imagine being in a conversation where you're constantly second-guessing yourself, wondering, did I say too much? Did I come off as too vulnerable? This silent game creates a barrier, preventing the kind of spontaneity and authenticity that builds real connections. It's like trying to dance while keeping your feet glued to the floor. Awkward and unfulfilling. This habit of measuring words and actions stems from a desire to control how others perceive us. People often think, if I say the wrong thing, they might leave, or if I show too much, they might use it against me. But here's the irony. In trying to control the narrative, we lose the very essence of what makes relationships meaningful. Humanity and vulnerability. Imagine a friend who only shares polished, perfect moments of their life. Over time, wouldn't that feel hollow? True relationships thrive on shared imperfections, not rehearsed performances. The problem with this silent game is that it turns relationships into a strategy rather than a connection. Instead of fostering genuine bonds, people focus on winning, whether it's winning approval, attention, or control. But here's the thing, relationships aren't competitions. They're about presence, about showing up as your true self, flaws and all. When we stop playing the silent game, we open the door to deeper, more fulfilling connections, and that's where the real magic begins. When we stop strategizing and start living authentically. Have you ever caught yourself rehearsing what to say before a conversation, or overanalyzing a text before hitting send? This habit of measuring every word, gesture, and attitude has become second nature for many. It's as if people are constantly editing themselves to fit an invisible script, hoping to avoid misunderstandings or rejection. But this hyper-awareness often backfires, creating relationships that feel stiff and calculated. Imagine trying to have a heartfelt conversation while mentally checking off a list of do's and don'ts. It's exhausting, and it robs the moment of its humanity. This behavior is often rooted in fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being judged, or fear of losing control. For example, someone might hesitate to express their true feelings because they're worried about being seen as too emotional or too needy. But in doing so, they sacrifice authenticity for a false sense of security. The result? Relationships that feel shallow, like a performance rather than a partnership. Think about it. How can you build a deep connection when you're too busy curating your every move? The truth is, relationships thrive on spontaneity and unfiltered moments. When you stop measuring every word and gesture, you allow room for vulnerability and trust to grow. Instead of worrying about saying the perfect thing, focus on being present and genuine. For instance, the next time you feel the urge to overthink a response, pause and ask yourself, am I speaking from my heart or from my fear? Letting go of this habit might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's the first step toward building relationships that are rooted in depth and authenticity. In many relationships, there's an unspoken rulebook of strategies people use to manipulate or control others. Whether it's withholding affection to gain power, using guilt to influence decisions, or playing hard to get, these tactics might seem clever at first, but they come at a cost. Manipulation creates a toxic cycle, where trust and authenticity are replaced by suspicion and emotional exhaustion. Imagine being in a relationship where every interaction feels like a calculated move. It's not a connection, it's a game, and one where nobody truly wins. The problem with these strategies is that they strip relationships of their humanity. Instead of fostering genuine bonds, they turn people into pawns in a larger scheme. For example, someone might deliberately delay replying to a message to appear less available, thinking it will make them seem more desirable. But what does this really achieve? It creates distance, not depth. Relationships built on manipulation are like houses built on sand. They may stand for a while, but they lack the foundation to weather life's storms. True connection doesn't require games or strategies. It requires empathy, generosity, and a willingness to be vulnerable. Instead of asking, how can I get them to do what I want? Try asking, how can I show up for them in a way that feels genuine? For instance, if you're upset with someone, express your feelings openly rather than resorting to passive-aggressive tactics. It's not about winning or losing. It's about creating a space where both people feel seen and valued. And when you let go of the need to control, you make room for something far more powerful: trust. When relationships are built on strategies and manipulation, spontaneity and authenticity are the first casualties. Instead of living in the moment, people become trapped in their own heads, constantly calculating their next move. Think about it. How can you truly enjoy a conversation when you're busy analyzing how your words will be perceived? This overthinking creates a barrier, turning what could be a genuine connection into a rehearsed performance. It's like trying to laugh at a joke you've already rehearsed. It just doesn't feel real. The loss of spontaneity also means losing the joy of being yourself. When you're constantly filtering your words and actions, you're not showing up as your true self. You're showing up as a version of you that you think others will accept. For example, someone might avoid sharing their quirks or vulnerabilities out of fear of being judged. But here's the thing, those quirks and vulnerabilities are often what make us relatable and human. Without them, relationships become shallow, like a conversation that never goes beyond small talk. Authenticity, on the other hand, invites depth and connection. It allows people to see you for who you really are, not who you're pretending to be. Imagine the freedom of saying what you feel without worrying about how it will be received. It's not about being reckless with your words, it's about being honest and present. The next time you catch yourself overthinking, try this. Take a deep breath and say what's on your mind, even if it feels imperfect. You might be surprised at how much more meaningful your relationships become when you let go of the need to control every detail. Relationships built on strategies often feel more like a chess match than a genuine connection. Every move is calculated, every word carefully chosen, and every gesture designed to elicit a specific response. But here's the problem. When relationships are treated like a game, they lose their soul. Imagine trying to connect with someone who's constantly thinking, "What's my next move?" instead of simply being present. It's exhausting, isn't it? Relationships aren't supposed to feel like a mental workout. They're meant to feel like a safe space. The energy spent on these manipulative dynamics is draining and ultimately unproductive. Think about how much effort it takes to maintain a facade to keep up with the rules of the game. Instead of fostering connections, this approach creates emotional distance and mistrust. For instance, someone who constantly plays hard to get might succeed in creating intrigue, but they'll fail to build the kind of trust that sustains a meaningful relationship. It's like building a house with no foundation. It might look good on the surface, but it won't stand the test of time. True relationships aren't about winning or losing. They're about mutual respect, empathy, and shared humanity. When you let go of strategies and focus on being authentic, you create space for real connections to flourish. Instead of asking, "How can I get what I want from this person?" try asking, "How can I show up for them in a way that feels genuine?" This shift in mindset not only deepens your relationships, but also frees you from the exhausting cycle of manipulation. And that's where the magic begins. When you stop playing games and start showing up as your true self. Vulnerability is the bridge that connects one human heart to another. Yet, in a world that glorifies strength and independence, many people see vulnerability as a weakness. They fear opening up, worried it might make them seem fragile or expose them to being hurt. But here's the truth. Without vulnerability, relationships remain surface level, lacking the depth that makes them truly meaningful. Think about it. When was the last time you felt deeply connected to someone who never shared their struggles or fears? It's those raw, unfiltered moments that create bonds. The fear of vulnerability often stems from past wounds. People worry, what if they use my weaknesses against me? Or what if I open up and they leave? But vulnerability isn't about exposing yourself to just anyone. It's about finding those who value your humanity and meet you with empathy. For example, instead of hiding your insecurities, try sharing them with someone you trust. You might say, "I've been struggling with this lately, and I'm not sure how to handle it." You'll be surprised how often this honesty invites others to open up as well, creating a space of mutual understanding. The beauty of vulnerability is that it filters out the wrong people while attracting the right ones. Not everyone will appreciate your openness, and that's okay. It's better to be rejected for who you truly are than to be accepted for a version of yourself that isn't real. Vulnerability requires courage, but it's also the key to building relationships that are rich in depth and authenticity. And once you embrace it, you'll start to see how it transforms not just your relationships, but your entire perspective on connection. One of the biggest barriers to real connections is the illusion of self-sufficiency. Many people convince themselves that they don't need anyone, proudly declaring, "I'm fine on my own." While independence is important, this exaggerated sense of self-reliance often shuts the door to meaningful relationships. Imagine trying to build a bridge while insisting you don't need the other side. It's impossible. True connection requires acknowledging that we're not meant to navigate life alone. Even the strongest among us need a hand to hold or a shoulder to lean on. Another common barrier is the tendency to focus solely on what others can offer us. Instead of approaching relationships with genuine curiosity and generosity, some people think, "What's in it for me?" This mindset reduces connections to transactions, stripping them of their humanity. For instance, if you only engage with someone because they can help you professionally or socially, you're missing the chance to build something deeper. Real relationships thrive on attention and empathy, qualities that can't be measured in terms of personal gain. And then there's the ever-present distraction of technology. How often do we find ourselves glued to our screens, scrolling through social media while ignoring the people right in front of us? This digital disconnect creates a false sense of connection while leaving real relationships to wither. Next time you're with someone, try putting your phone away and giving them your full attention. It's a small gesture, but it speaks volumes. Breaking these barriers isn't easy, but it's the first step toward building connections that are rooted in presence and authenticity. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone constantly interrupts or redirects the focus back to themselves? This is what we call sequestering conversations, and it's one of the quickest ways to kill genuine connection. Imagine sharing something personal, only to have the other person respond with, "That reminds me of when I." It feels dismissive, doesn't it? Instead of feeling heard, you're left wondering if they even cared about what you said. This habit creates a one-sided dialogue where empathy and attention are replaced by self-centeredness. True connection requires listening, not just hearing, but actively engaging with what the other person is saying. When someone shares a story or a struggle, resist the urge to jump in with your own experience. Instead, ask follow-up questions like, "How did that make you feel?" or "What happened next?" These small acts of curiosity and generosity show that you value their perspective. For example, if a friend shares they're feeling overwhelmed at work, instead of saying, "Oh, I've been there too," try responding with, "That sounds tough. How can I support you?" The lack of genuine listening in conversations often stems from a desire to feel seen or validated. But, ironically, by constantly steering the spotlight onto ourselves, we push others away. The next time you're in a conversation, challenge yourself to be fully present. Put aside your own thoughts and focus entirely on the other person. You'll find that when you give someone your undivided attention, you're not just building a connection, you're creating a space where both of you can feel truly human. Superficial interactions are like sipping water from a shallow puddle, unsatisfying and leaving you thirsting for more. Too often, conversations revolve around trivial topics, avoiding the depth that makes relationships meaningful. People stick to safe subjects like the weather or the latest TV show, steering clear of anything that might reveal vulnerability or invite deeper connection. Imagine meeting someone and only ever discussing surface-level topics. Over time, it feels like you're talking to a stranger, even if you've known them for years. This lack of depth is often a defense mechanism. People fear that sharing their true feelings or struggles might make them seem weak or burdensome. But avoiding meaningful conversations only leads to what can be called empty relationships, connections that exist in name but lack substance. For example, if you're catching up with a friend, instead of asking, "What's new?" try asking, "What's been on your mind lately?" This small shift invites a deeper dialogue and shows that you genuinely care about their inner world. Breaking free from superficiality requires courage and curiosity. It means being willing to share your own experiences and inviting others to do the same. Instead of avoiding topics like fears, dreams, or struggles, lean into them. For instance, the next time someone asks how you're doing, resist the urge to say, "I'm fine." Be honest. Say, "It's been a tough week, but I'm working through it." You'll be amazed at how quickly this honesty can transform a shallow interaction into a meaningful connection. Curiosity is the heartbeat of meaningful relationships, yet so many interactions today lack this vital spark. Instead of asking thoughtful questions, people often default to gossip or small talk, missing the chance to truly connect. Imagine someone asking, "Did you hear what happened to so-and-so?" versus, "How are you really doing?" The first question might entertain, but the second one opens a door to depth and understanding. Genuine curiosity isn't about prying, it's about showing you care enough to go beyond the surface. The absence of curiosity often stems from a lack of emotional presence. People get so caught up in their own lives that they forget to ask, what's going on in yours? For example, instead of asking a coworker, how was your weekend? And moving on, try asking, what was the best part of your weekend? This small tweak shifts the focus from routine to meaningful, encouraging them to share something they truly enjoyed. Curiosity, when paired with empathy, becomes a powerful tool for building trust and connection. But curiosity isn't just about asking questions. It's about being willing to act on the answers. If someone shares a struggle, don't just nod and move on. Offer support, whether that's a kind word, a helpful suggestion, or simply your presence. For instance, if a friend mentions they're stressed about an upcoming presentation, you could say, how can I help? Do you want to practice with me? These small acts of generosity show that your curiosity is genuine, not just a polite formality. And when curiosity becomes a habit, it transforms relationships from transactional to truly human. In a world obsessed with efficiency and results, it's easy to forget the most important ingredient in relationships: humanity. Too often, people treat connections as tools to achieve goals rather than as opportunities to nurture something meaningful. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone prioritize their to-do list over spending quality time with a loved one? When we focus solely on productivity, we lose sight of what truly matters: presence, authenticity, and the irreplaceable value of human connection. Valuing humanity means choosing to see people as more than what they can offer you. It's about recognizing their struggles, celebrating their victories, and being there for them in moments of uncertainty. For example, instead of asking a friend, what can you do for me? Try asking, how can I support you? This small shift in perspective transforms relationships from transactional to transformative. It's not about keeping score. It's about showing up with empathy and generosity, even when there's nothing to gain in return. When we prioritize humanity in our relationships, we create a ripple effect of trust and connection. It's about being present, even when it's inconvenient, and choosing authenticity over manipulation. Imagine sitting with a friend who's going through a tough time. Not to fix their problems, but simply to let them know they're not alone. These moments of presence and truth are what build the kind of relationships that last. And when you start valuing humanity, you'll notice something remarkable. The connections you create will feel deeper, richer, and more fulfilling than you ever thought possible. Building real connections doesn't require grand gestures. It starts with small, intentional actions. One of the simplest ways to deepen a relationship is to focus on feelings rather than opinions. Instead of debating or trying to prove a point, ask someone how they feel about a situation. For example, instead of saying, I think you should quit that job, try saying, how does your job make you feel lately? This shift invites vulnerability and creates a safe space for honest conversations, which is the foundation of any meaningful connection. Another key to real connection is identifying which relationships truly matter and investing your energy there. Not every relationship deserves the same level of effort, and that's okay. Think about the people who make you feel seen and valued. Those are the ones worth prioritizing. For instance, if you have a friend who always checks in on you, make an effort to reciprocate. Send them a thoughtful message or schedule time to catch up. Relationships thrive when both sides feel valued and appreciated. Finally, remember that not everyone will match your emotional frequency, and that's perfectly normal. Think of it like tuning a radio. Sometimes you're on different wavelengths, and that's okay. The key is to focus on those who resonate with your energy and values. If someone doesn't meet you halfway, it's not a reflection of your worth. Instead, it's a reminder to seek out connections that align with your authenticity. When you approach relationships with this mindset, you'll find that the ones you nurture are rich in depth, trust, and mutual respect. Connecting genuinely with others is one of the greatest gifts we can give and receive. But it requires vulnerability, empathy, and the willingness to let go of games and superficiality. If you're ready to build deeper and more meaningful relationships, start today. Share this content with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe to the channel for more tips on mental health and self-discovery, and let us know in the comments how you've been working to strengthen your connections. Together, we can create a space